All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon for those in Kenya. Good morning for those in the DFW like myself. This is the live Q&A for the 4th annual Kenya Youth Summit 2021. We are so glad that you are here. Hopefully you are here with us. Drop a hello on those chats. Say, hi, Dr. E, how you doing? But we are here to wrap up this dynamic youth summit, and hopefully you have tuned in from yesterday, but if not, it is okay. You can do a rerun of that and it'll be just as fire. Today the purpose is to wrap up this youth summit with the Q&A. We have gotten some great questions from all of you since yesterday and then today as well. And I have 3 wonderful panelists here with me that I'm actually going to ask them to introduce themselves in an elevator ride, right? So 25 seconds, what would you tell somebody on an elevator who you are? And I will start with Monica, then Jace, and go to Jay. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and I'm very honored to be part of this youth summit. Well, I'm Monica Mohoya, currently based in Kenya, founder of Sister Speaks and Heals for Pads Foundation. Both organizations uplift and empower women and girls. Sister Speaks is for profit, where we curate female-oriented events to enable women to expand their capacities, network capacities, and also advance their dialogues. On the other hand, we translate those women who want to have their voices heard to include women and girls in marginalized communities that don't have a voice or don't have the resources to actually speak out. And how we do that, we use menstrual health as an approach to springboard everyone to the life that every woman and girl in Kenya deserve to lead. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Jace Pondo. I'm 21. I'm a second-year bachelor student based out of France, or currently Nairobi. The rest of the year I'm in France. And I'm also founder of the Idolina company, where we focus on leather fashion and social impact in Kenya.
Hello everyone, my name is Jane Mugore Cook. I work for Help a Child Africa. In the Lobby and Advocacy and Communication Department, we are a child-centered organization. We work with communities to empower them so that the children can grow holistically and grow into young, youthful, responsible people. So basically, that's what I do.
Awesome, awesome. Welcome, Monica. Welcome, Jace. Welcome, Jane. As y'all can see, we are well represented. We have the male figure right there with Jace. We have Monica just empowering women and facilitating conversations. And we have Jane on the other end working with children and families as well. So this is a great session. So I'm going to dive right in. And we just finished a session on youth in underrepresented sectors, agribusiness and STEM. And one of those conversations was the gender gap also in that representations, right? So not only are young people underrepresented, but women, young girls are also doubly underrepresented. So Monica, this one is for you. How have you navigated your work in what are often male-dominated spaces?
Thank you very much for that question. So my background is business and ICT. So back here home in Kenya, you'll probably find most of the coding guys, are male. So when you tell someone that, oh, I have an undergrad in, ICT, and they are like, oh, why? Then again, you tell them this is what the platforms that I've created to also have women and girls in marginalized communities to find their own voice. So it's constantly setting intentions that my voice matters and I deserve to be where I'm at. So how I have navigated, I remember I've worked in very highly gendered, discriminative environments before I became a social entrepreneur. So I remember constantly breaking down because, a male boss said something that I felt like, oh, that is not the way you're supposed to tell me. So what I'm trying to say, the journey has been really hard. As a woman, sometimes people won't recognize your potential. People will see your potential often as a threat, and sometimes they want to project, their weakness towards you. So what has remained as my anchor is remaining my authentic self and attaching myself to the purpose and who I believe that I'm orchestrated to be in this world. And I am supposed to be imparting influence and change to girls and women in the communities that often are unreachable, ranging from semi-arid and arid areas where the value of girl child actually is not even up to negotiation. What I mean, I last year at the peak of the pandemic, I went to Masabit, and what I saw, it broke my heart, and I was like, this thing that I'm doing right now with Sister Speaks and Heals for Pads, it's what is going to bring that transformative change, because I want to be the voice. I want to create that platform. And, looking back to so many things that I heard about, girls going through very harmful cultural practices, being forced off to be married off at a tender age of 9, 10 years. I'm like, who turns a 9-year-old child to a bride? So my intentions are, and my objective as an organization, is to continue, elevating my voice and, amplifying the awareness that girls are supposed to be in school and they're not supposed to be brides. Whether I have an IT degree, it doesn't I am not outseating you. I'm just like, we can coexist and impart the change that we are destined to impart in the society. So it's really like being you and standing for what you believe in and believing in your whole potential, because we were all created by God, who say the man should be up and the woman should be here. We are all equal before him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Monica. That was well said. And I like how you said, be you. I am all about being authentic, regardless of where you are, what stage. Jane, I will pitch that question to you. Briefly, just let me know, have you come across situations where you have been underrepresented in that conference room, and how did you navigate that?
Thank you so much, Dr. E. Thank you so much, Monica. This definitely will happen. It's not unusual. It's not uncommon. It's very evident, and especially in like tasks that are considered very high level or technical, and especially like for me in the developing world, even for you and for Monica, a lot of times, for sure, some careers are regarded like men-dominated or male-dominated careers. But one of the things I think I have done or have come to appreciate is just making sure that you have intergenerational, networks that actually build women up. So at least for us in our practice, we work with women, and for that is to just change the narrative that has always been, you can't to you can. Because growing up you're told no, you can't play football, it's for men. So it starts with simple things like that for children, and that's the reason why I'm passionate about working with children, that you need to change that narrative from as early as they are born, like you can do whatever it is you want to do. But I think as you grow up, you realize that it's not just about, you fighting or you wanting to be equal. It's also making sure that you have something to bring on the table. So for me, it's understand, as a woman, you need to understand your trade, you need to understand your skill very well. You also need to make sure that you do the necessary research that you need to do, so that when you come to the table, you're not coming to the table as a woman because you've been nominated, you've been selected, but you also have something to offer. So make sure that you are value adding to to the sector. I think also one of the things that I champion, or I'm fortunate to be part of in our organization, which is led by a woman who was, she's just finishing her youthful nature is also organizational policies that bring equity and fairness in the working space. So just making sure that you have you're not only trying to employ women because your policy said you need to employ women, but you're also making sure that you're building the capacity of women to take up leadership roles. So for me, creating opportunities for intergenerational networks for women, making sure that you change the narrative from an early age, but also making sure that you have something to bring on the table. So for me, those three are key, and those ones for me have worked in my career. Just making sure that if I'm going to a space, and I know this is probably a male-dominated discussion, I need to do as much extensive research that I possibly can, so that I have something to say and I have something to bring to the table.
Wow,
thanks, Dr.
that is good. Thank you, Jane and Monica, for that. So ladies, if you're out there, you hear it, right? You own that space and bring value to where you can say, I'm not bringing to the table. I am the table. I'm the chair. I'm that napkin holder too. And here's my resume to show you. I love that. Jace, because this conversation is just so good. And you're just there, you're the man in this. I know you have sisters as well. And you also work in capacities where you train individuals, women especially, to in the leather business. How do you facilitate this space for women to be able to sit at that table with you?
Yeah, so as you had mentioned, I have two younger sisters, so this has been something I was practicing really far before I even started my leather business. So at some point growing up with two younger sisters, I had to realize that as an older brother, as a young man, I had a responsibility to put my foot down at the table for them whenever they wanted to pursue something where women were a minority. Because before then, I never really much thought about it, but when it came to somebody telling my sisters no, they couldn't do that because they were a woman, or maybe they shouldn't do that because they're a woman, I had to stand up for that. And so I think that's really a responsibility that a lot of young men, older men, every man should take on, is understanding that you can't sit idly by and just kind of hope that things will change over a time. As a new generation comes in, maybe it'll happen then women will have equal footing in the professional workspace. No, what you have to do is take on the responsibility right then and there and say, I'm going to choose to go to bat for women day in and day out to make sure that they have an equal opportunity. So that's one thing that I've constantly looked at ever since I started Idalina, and even more so since then, not just because of my sisters, but because, as I said, I go to university, and actually a larger majority of our class is comprised of women now. We're in a business school, and quite frankly, most of them are smarter than me. and yet, for some reason, just because they're a woman, it seems like they have less opportunity than me. So that means I have to go to bat for people like that. And so I think that's really a responsibility that men need to make the conscious decision to commit to today.
That's very good, very good. And as an advocate for youth and women, but really humanity as a whole, I really connect with that in terms of, if you see something is wrong within your society, within your neighborhood, don't wait or look who will do. You should be the one to take on that mantle and say, hey, I want to pave a way for my sisters, for my mother, and for others as well. And women, I hope you're hearing this. So we need to appreciate the Jace Pandos in our world, even as we work to empower youth and girls all around. And remember, being a woman is simply an identifier of the reproductive organs you have, but not your capacity or your intellect. So just own who you are and level that table. So Jace, you've introduced our next topic, which is on business and what you do. And I know you were on the previous panels, so we've introduced you and our viewers know that. But you are in school, but you have also been a learner of YouTube University as well, to level up and to learn these skills. What would you tell a young person that is challenged on how best to prepare themselves for uncertainty in the job market to do? What are some tips you would give them?
I would say just start practically where you're at, and that I'll clarify on that is I'll just give an example of what I did and how I ended up here with Idalina. I was actually applying for university. I was working a factory job that was nowhere close to the career I wanted in the future. And I needed to figure out how I was going to get from point A to point B. And for me, point B was 10, 20-year vision. I wanted to be like a social impact investor. But I knew that I wasn't going to go from no bachelor's to social impact investor overnight or just by watching YouTube. And so what I did was I broke down by first principles, what is the first steps I need to take? Obviously, education is one of those. But another one is entrepreneurship focused on social impact. That would be a great starting place for me. And so even from there, I had to break it down a bit further and say, how am I even going to start a social impact business? And so from that point on, I just started Googling things on social impact, how to register a social impact enterprise, if we even had that type of registration in the US versus other countries. And so just by constantly reiterating on questions of how do I get to that 10 to 20 year mark where I want to be, what do I need to do today to get there? And so by reiterating on that, thinking on first principles, I ended up just pulling up a leather hobby. I picked it up as a hobby, did it for a couple of weeks, and then realized, hey, there's a way I could monetize this. And so from there on, I opened up an online shop. I started an Instagram page, started advertising it. And then from there, I said, okay, if I want to do social impact, then I'll just model this to where I give so much money towards, local outreaches in Kenya. And then from there, slowly, bit by bit, it started picking up more and more until we gained partnerships that helped us continue to where we are today, until I got a mentor that helped me get to where I am today. And so I think for youth, when you're thinking about where you want to be in 10 to 20 years, taking into consideration, the future of the job market, really start realistically with where you're at, think on first principles and take it step by step. Don't think that you're entitled to what you want in 10 to 20 years, or think that you're not going to have to put in the work to get there. Know that you're going to have to put in the work, and, think on first principles so you can find out what that work is today.
Thank you for that. Jace, this question will go to Jane. Jace has showed how young people can now prepare for this job market, how they can prepare to be socially responsible. You working on the other end to working with organizations to make sure that they're implementing innovative practices and procedures that enhance growth. How can employers be socially responsible in attracting JACEs and others like that and incentivize this type of organizational growth?
Thank you so much, Dr. E. And truly, JACE is one of a kind. I know sometimes you just want to get to the end without having to go through the process. But I think one of the things that we have seen working for our organization, and we have truly come to appreciate, and it's a learning organization, so we constantly are working to improve, working to engage.
I think we dropped Jane there for a moment as we are waiting on her to come. There you are, Jane. I believe you are back. Go right ahead.
Sorry about that. Well, please forgive me. I'm right in the middle of nowhere. So, but yeah, allow me to just give you some points that, or at least things that we have used that are working for us. One is to actually listen to the youth. So people who come through our doors as Help a Child, we make sure that we actually give them an opportunity to serve in leadership capacities. So how do we do this? We do this by making sure that they are included in the decision-making processes. So we engage them in meetings, we engage them through feedback, so that they can feel, or we can feel that their input actually matters. Because a lot of the times is you find, someone coming for internship, they're always at the back of the room with absolutely no input, or if they give the input, it's not valued. So for us, we give opportunities where their input is valued. We give them opportunities to give us feedback. And so that has truly helped us to actually learn and understand. And we also give leadership opportunities. So even when they come, we give them, so even when you're running something simple like running a training, so as opposed to Jane, who's been there for 5 years, we actually give an opportunity to the intern to run a session. So you start molding from as early on as you can possibly can, so that we make sure that we retain them. Their time is valued. There's value for money as they grow and learn. But we also compensate as they should be compensated. Because the other thing is actually using skill and just saying, you know what, you're working as a volunteer, But we also try to make sure that, to incentivize, to make it, attractive. We also make sure that we compensate as, someone should be compensated. Whether you are working as an intern, you are, coming in as an entry position, we try to make sure that it's equal. We're not paying someone ridiculously high, and then we're paying the youth, or we're paying someone else because they lack the experience. We're taking advantage of that. So we make sure that that is not what we do. So we have a policy to that regard. We also make sure that we have flexi hours, because we realize you can't keep someone in the office 8 to 5. So yeah, so what time is the most creative time? My creative time is right now, 7 to like 3 in the morning. And so my boss understands that. And so we make sure that we also appreciate such things. So there are many opportunities to just make the job market very attractive, especially for young people. We also give them opportunities to innovate. We have these systems that have been there for forever. So how can you look into our systems and make sure an easy time working with them? So I think these are some of the examples I can give or I can think of right now. But those are some of the things that we have actually come to see that work in our favor as well. I'm sorry if my internet is unstable, but I'm hoping you've actually had what I had to say.
That is okay. Yes, it's okay. We have been through it with this Zoom, and we know you're muted, unmuted. I see the ghost. It's okay. Yes, we heard you loud and clear and very well said. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is really setting the table and stepping back to let that other person lead. And this segues us very well to this question for Monica. Monica, you work in spaces where it's all about curating those intentional spaces for young women, for women and girls, from Dada Ongea to Heal for Pads. And by the way, there is a Heals for Pads, and we'll be sure on our social media to tag that. Monica is doing a fantabulous job on that. And if you wear shoes, you can donate those for some pads for some women. So Monica, when I come to Kenya, nitabeba zote, and we'll meet. But this question is for you. Now we are intersecting young people and organizations. Can you share success stories of youth, and particularly women, who have challenged this status quo of being underrepresented, and how you have brought them to the table to allow them to work in these spaces?
Thank you, Elizabeth. We are 2 years in curating these spaces for women to connect and just, share off, experiential learnings. So there's a woman on the come up, and there's a woman who's been, she came to Nairobi. Business is good, education is good, but there's the woman who came to Nairobi, but things worked, and things went south for her, but she's still trying to recreate herself, to reinvent herself over and over again. So Sister Speaks brings those women together so that we can share. One thing that we do perfectly as women is to lend ear and shoulder to lean on. So if I have failed, I'm happy to, hold that woman behind me and tell her, sis, it's gonna be okay. This is temporary. So what we've been intentionally doing is looking at what Jane and Jace, they were talking about. In a very digitally charged world, we are seeing more women come into these spaces saying, you know what, it's about time we stop talking about women campaigns or advocating for programs that tells women you should take up science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. Yet the women who have these degrees or women who have these accolades, you don't recognize them in the first place. So what we are doing, we are opening the doors for them. And the woman who comes behind Monica, I'm telling her, hold that door. There's another woman behind you. Don't slam that door because there's enough room for us. The table is so long. What I tell girls, pull your chair. If it's wooden, go probably with her, take a plastic one. If it breaks, we're gonna recreate that. We're gonna merge. We're gonna come together and hold you accountable because Sister Speaks what we do. You come to us with broken dreams, broken. You feel broken, and we offer that safe space to tell you that we got you. We have walked the journey, and we are going to walk the rest of the journey with you. So we do something we call accountability partnership. So let's talk about, when you, Jane and Jace, were talking about the future of jobs, it's something very important that we've been able to achieve, seeing women hungry for skills. So there's a workshop that we've partnered with Yes and IBM, just reskilling and upskilling women, to prepare themselves for what future of job looks like. For example, we encourage women to do enterprise computing. The future is design thinking and human-centered design. So we are talking about making an impact. So how do you relate with the social issues of today? How can we leverage technology so that we can create a sustainable future for all tomorrow? So I've seen women, in renewable energy, women who are making products for Kenyan women, and then creating markets for the African women and going global. So I'm here for it. And Sister Speaks, that safe space where, but as much as you fell, we are here to tell you, sis, dust off, we are walking, and the destination is forward. Thank you.
Yes. Hey, that's one I must clap for. The table is big enough for all of us. And whether you happen to pull up a wooden chair, a plastic chair, a metal chair, the point is you have the opportunity to get to the table. And if you don't like wooden, while you're at the table, you can reframe and restructure that and put some cushions on it. That is awesome. And I agree, there is space for all of us. And the other thing that we have all said in many ways is there was a door that you walked through. Your job is to hold that door for somebody to keep continuing and then to open the next door. And if we follow that analogy, it will be an open hallway from here to kingdom come for all of us, boys, women, youth, all of us, because as the old age and exit, they open that door for us. And as the men go forth, Jace, you open the door for the women. And women, as you go forth, you open the doors for the children that are coming alongside you. That is a great way to really capture how we can change the narrative from being underrepresented to being intentionally represented. And this, you alluded to the idea or to the topic from yesterday on jobs in this new norm. Really not jobs, but everything in this new norm. So very briefly, I want, Monica has talked about how their organizations pivoted in this time. So let me ask Jace and then Jane, how did you pivot in this new norm to make sure that, one, you continue the purpose and the mission that you are working towards, but to do it in this new norm to remain relevant? I will pitch it to Jace and then to Jane.
Yes, so this new norm actually kicked in right at the time that Idalina was conceived. I mean, Idalina was a product of the new norm. And so when you look at that, adapting to it, I think is in large part not taking too much time to hope that things are going to change and go back to quote unquote normal, or just inflicting self-suffering metaphorically just because things have changed and you don't know what to do from here. It's a lot easier to just build for change rather than hope for it. And so I think that's a really big thing as we look forward in jobs in the future. I'll give a practical example of this is just over the past few months as I've been in school, we've noticed that a lot of what has been taught in curriculum of our school right now is kind of going obsolete with the new normal. And so one thing that we've done with that was, instead of complaining about what my courses are teaching me, or hoping that next year they change the curriculum, what I've done is, again, gone back to YouTube University and started learning those different skill sets, whether it's related to STEM or elsewhere, that would equip me for this new normal. So rather than just hoping for somebody else to make that change easier for me, build that change yourself.
All right, thank you so much, Jace. Thank you so much, Dr. E. I think Monica and Jace have already just concluded a lot of the things that are happening with most organizations. Maybe one example to give for us is to, one of the things we did was to actually include it in our strategy, because a lot of the times is that you have this hope, you really want to do a lot of the things, but then you are hit the way we were hit last year. Every organization was, there was a brick thrown in your face and you're told to stop, reevaluate, change. You're used to doing things in this particular way, but then now you have, I can't reach my community, I can't reach the women that I work with. So how that has changed for us is that we have now understood the importance of, we have done this before, but then also the importance of just working with the youth within our reach, or working with people within our reach. So working with communities, making sure we tap into resources that they already have, that we can utilize in terms of communication, in terms of technology, in terms of innovation. And we've discovered that out of that, there was a lot to learn. And so the biggest thing we did was to actually include strategic innovation and scale up in our strategy. And so how that looks like, we unpack it as the years go on, but just making sure that now we are more aware that, you can, the world can come to a stop or a standstill because of a pandemic like this. And then we need to shift completely. So we are making use of structures within the community, innovating how we work. We used to work with women through, in-person meetings. We don't do that anymore. So how we do that is we use WhatsApp. Who knew that, you can actually hold a whole meeting on such technologies, especially with women, because there was a lot of this feeling like, if you're working with people in the rural areas, and stuff like that. But then we've discovered, much to our amazement, that they actually do. It's only that we did not take time to actually invest in that. So we have invested in working with schools and communities, and to just make sure that we are tapping into the resources that they already have, and allowing them to give us the solutions, especially for this new normal. If you're working with a young man, a young woman who's in the informal sector, what are some of the things that they would like us to do? So we work in partnership with the communities. We work in partnership with the young people to drive solutions that only to drive solutions for both them and us. So it's been quite a journey, but the first step, Dr. E, that we started with was actually changing our strategy and to include strategic innovation and scale up. So yeah.
That's very good. And in this new norm, as using the analogy that Monica said, it has connected us even globally as well. So our table is now globally long. And this flexible work is here to stay. Flexible connections are here to stay. We are running this meeting across the ocean. You all are in Kenya in different places. I'm in Dallas. We've had speakers at one moment, at one place, but in different time zones. So it is time for us to transform and do it innovatively, as all of you all have alluded to. And watching that time clock, I want to speedily wrap to a close and want to get your parting shots. Hey, I'm from Neri, guys, so those R's and L's sometimes, zinagongana. They hit each one another and contradict, but all is well, right? So your parting shot, what is in 30 seconds, right? Based on the conversations that we've had this past 2 days, but also what you have learned in this past year, which is a lot. What can you tell to the young person that is there? Maybe they're wondering, I have this new business idea, but goodness, the times are changing, or I've tried, I've knocked on so many doors, but nobody is holding that door, or they just want to continue being relevant. What can you tell to all of those? And I will start with Monica, and then Jace, you will pitch in, and then Jane, and then I will wrap up.
Thank you, Dr. E. So this is my mantra. Every time I'm doing like a parting shot, I always say, what is that one advice that I would today put on a billboard for everyone to see? So today, my parting shot will be, how long is it going to take us to be uncomfortable or to get uncomfortable being referred underrepresented? Yet, youth and women, we are the most powerful population the world has ever seen. Women, we are safe net. Women, we nurture, we bring life. But how long are we comfortable being called the underrepresented? Remember, you have a voice, speak out.
Yeah, so that's really great. And I'm probably going to riff off of that a bit. The first part, I guess I'll do 2 or 3 key takeaways for that are related to that. The first would be to, whenever you're looking for a starting block of where should I begin, look for something that both captures your curiosity and also helps the world around you at the same time. If it doesn't capture your curiosity, you're probably going to get burnt out on it. And if it doesn't help the world around you, then, what are you doing to change the world around you? And then 2, I would say, this actually came to mind whenever Monica was speaking. I had just finished watching the Michelle Obama documentary, Becoming. And there was a part on that documentary where she's speaking to a young woman who said, Michelle, how did you deal with feeling like you weren't seen? How did you, build your life feeling like you weren't seen? And Michelle responded to her that she said, as women, we can't afford to wait until we feel seen to change the world. And I think that goes for women, for youth, really for everybody. You can't wait until you feel seen to change the world. Start where you're at, change it where you're at, because you will be seen. And then lastly is find somebody to bet on. And what I mean by this is there's a show that I listen to, a podcast show I listen to quite frequently. And the host asks at the end of the show every time, what is the kindest thing that anyone has ever done for you? And these are very high level C-suite people in all these interviews. And every single time their response is somewhere along the lines of, somebody was willing to bet on me when nobody else was, or when I wasn't even willing to bet on myself. And so take the time to look for that, even if you're a youth. I have found so many opportunities to do this, even though, my mentor, somebody else, is betting on me at the moment. I'm finding others that I can place my bets on, that I can empower. So do the same. It doesn't matter what age you are or what level you are in the hierarchy. Find somebody to empower and to bet on.
Amazing. So for me, it will be 3 things. So one is turn your passion into profit, and not the other way. Don't go for profit then passion, because down the line you will burn out because you are trying something totally different. Enjoy what you do. Enjoy the process, or enjoy it, and then at the end of the day you'll actually make money out of it, as opposed to making money and then wanting to enjoy it. That process can be very tedious, it can be very tiring, you can actually burn out as you're trying to do that. So for me, it will be turn your passion, something you enjoy, something you love, something that even if you don't get paid, you actually would wake up in the morning to do it. The second thing for me would be understand the process. Allow yourself to go through the process. sometimes we want to get to the end, as Jace has said, without having to just understand what the process is. But sometimes when you go through the process, when you endure it, you find a lot of value, a lot of learnings that you take away from it. And you can actually invest in other people when you go through the process. So for me, that becomes my third point. Like when you endure the process, when you go through the process, you build a lot of resilience, you build your character as well. But you also in the process find people who believe in you, but as they believe in you, also believe in other people. So bring people up with you, which is my third point. Ensure that you invest in people. So don't get to the place where you're making it on your own. Make sure that you are, at least for me, and this is me speaking to myself as well. Make sure that if I'm heading north, that I'm bringing people with me. So if you're heading to the top, make sure you're taking people or you're investing people in people to bring to the top as well. So those will be my three things to take away from this last 2 days.
Awesome.
Dr. E, just
Yes.
a minute. I think I didn't give my third one. Just to bounce off what Jay said, getting a mentor who, roots for you. There's this mantra I just came across the other day that the power is in the modeling. You model the person you want to become or the person you admire. And remember, excellence can be duplicated. That's it.
Where? That's like the monk that sold the Ferrari kind of quote. That is good. And for all of you, Monica, Jace, Jane, the beauty of being a moderator is I can be so lazy and said, all the above is my answer. And it really, really is. I think this has been a great, energizing, empowering, and challenging session. And I've been honored to be here. No man is an island. Really, no man is an island. And the conversation we've had from yesterday, even now, has reiterated that we need to walk alongside people that are walking in the same place we are. They may not be at the same pace, but make sure at least they're headed in the same direction and not pulling you behind. So Monica has demonstrated the power of curating spaces with like-minded people and being investing in those people as well. Jace has also said that. Jane has talked about that at the organizational level. And we've talked about this idea, I will borrow from Monica's words, human-centered design. Everything our panelists today have talked about, the center of it all is humanity, is a woman, is a child, is a boy child. It's the individual collectively. So whatever you do, your passion, make that into a profit, not the other way around. And be intentional about leveling up. Sierra says, level up, level up, level up. We gotta level up. We cannot stay comfortable. If one thing COVID has taught us, comfortableness can be our demise and our downfall. We are not going to be an ostrich and hide our hand when things are going around. We're going to pivot. And these three individuals have shown how they have done those individually, but organizationally and collectively as well. So for you, our viewer, from wherever you're tuning in from, make sure you keep it human-centered, you turn that passion into profit, and you keep learning and keep investing in others and keep those doors open. The one you found and walked through and the one you're gonna exit from, keep it open, and let's turn those doors into hallways for all people so we can get to that long table and pull up a chair for ourselves. And if you fall along the way, somebody is going to pick you up and dust you off, and we're going to keep going. We have said no man is an island, and the Youth Engagement Society could not have done this without our panelists, our supporters, but we have two ladies with us, and I will ask them to turn on their camera so that we can all be seen. And I will invite them to say something, Dorcas and Caroline. Hopefully you are somewhere you can hear me. But we also are missing two others. We're missing Grace and we're missing Pauline. This is part of the youth engagement team. Jane is a part of that and so many other people. So I'll give 15 seconds to each of these ladies, to Caroline first and Dorcas, to just say something. Dada ongea, huh? To say something.
Thank you, Dr. E. Wow, such transformative conversations and such good answers from our panelists today. We thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here. And thank you all to everyone who's joining us live. We appreciate your support and we hope that these conversations will help you and empower you. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. I mean, first of all, this session was so amazing. As an addition to all the other sessions that we've had. I will echo what Caroline has said and thank everyone for joining us live. Thank you to the panelists. You guys have been amazing. I think in closing, I can just encourage everyone who's watching us, go follow us on our social media pages. We'll continue having these conversations moving forward and we'll have further updates on, trainings and initiatives that we have coming up. And yes, thank you so much for joining us for this summit. Back to you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, ladies. Those are our two fabulous ladies, and just give a shout out on behalf of my co-founder, he didn't find me. We co-founded the Youth Engagement Society together, Dr. David Washira, who so happens to also be my brother. He sends his shout out as well. He could not be here. But on behalf of every individual and organization that is saying yes, Youth Engaged Societies, to each and every one of you, as Monica has challenged. Monica, I've been stealing a lot of your quotes. We need to talk on the side so that people think it's me thinking these things, right? But it's time we become uncomfortable being underrepresented. That word underrepresented needs to fall, and we simply need to be youth engaged or women engaged or men engaged, whatever underrepresented category you face, whether it's being a Muslim, whether it's being a Jew, whether it's being whatever. Let's drop the underrepresented and make sure we tap into those capacities. So without further ado, my friends, I say good night to those in Nairobi and anywhere in the Eastern Hemisphere. And for those on my end, if you're watching, call me so we can go have lunch, because it is lunchtime in the Dallas area. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you drop a heart, or drop a like, and be a friend. Share this with the last 3 people you texted, the last 3 people you ghosted. Hello, somebody. The last 3 people you tweeted to. Share this. This is too good. This is that soup, that, jollof, that just spice that people need to end the day with. Until the next time, good night, goodbye, and God bless you.